Good evening. You're all very welcome to this evening's webinar. I want to start by thanking you for making the time to be here this evening, especially given how busy you all are with the return to school. This is the first in a three-part series of webinars which replace the annual TY picnic. The aim of these webinars is to explore the challenges currently being faced by TY coordinators and subject teachers, and to share practice around how we might best meet these challenges. Before we get started, I want to run through a small number of protocols for the webinar. Firstly, if people can keep their microphones muted while we're all together here in the main Zoom room, it will make it easier for everyone to hear the presenters. Out of respect for people's privacy, participants are not permitted to record any part of the webinar. The PDST do not grant permission for this CPD event to be recorded. If you have questions at any stage over the course of the webinar, please use the chat feature in Zoom to ask those questions and we'll do our best to answer them. In the second half of the webinar, we're going to split up into smaller groups using breakout rooms to have a discussion on the key points of tonight's event. When we do that, I'd ask that you unmute your microphone and turn on your camera so that it will make for a more personal experience. Let me take a minute to introduce the PDST TY team. We have Glenda Groom, who is TY Coordinator at Cross and Passion School in Kilcullen. We have John Kerr, who is TY Coordinator in Patrician High School, Carrickmacross. And both Glenda and John are active members of the TY TPN. We have Brendan O'Halloran and Marcus O'Flynn, who are both PDST advisors and work on transition year support for some of their time. We have Esther Herlihy, who is our administrator and based in Navan Education Centre. And my name is Stephen Gamble. I'm a PDST team leader with responsibility for transition year. As I mentioned, this is the first webinar of a three-part series. In tonight's webinar, we will look at general planning considerations for the year ahead. This will be an overview, if you like. The next webinar, which will happen at the same time next week, will look in detail at developing digital skills and utilising blended learning in TY. And the third webinar, on September 29th, will look at two distinct topics: work experience or career guidance and considerations for bridging the gap between junior and senior cycle. There is a fourth webinar planned for November, which will look to address some of the feedback from the next three webinars and any issues which emerge as priorities for all of us over the coming weeks and months. Webinars can take many forms. Our webinars are going to try to mix presentation and panels with small group discussion using the breakout feature in Zoom. Setting up the webinar like this is not without its risks, but we work through any technical issues together as best we can, because the standout message from yourselves over the years has been that there is huge value in getting the chance to chat with other coordinators. These webinars are only one part of the support which PDST provides for transition year. If you would like further support in the form of school support, you can apply for this at pdst.ie/school support. To do so, you'll need your school's roll number and the password for this year, which is shown on the screen. Any application for school support should be done in consultation with school management, as a single application goes in from each school. If you have any queries around any issues related to the coordination of transition year, feel free to email us at ty@pdst.ie. We also have a Twitter account, so you can follow us via the handle at pdstty. And we're constantly updating the web page on pdst.ie, so keep an eye on that if you want any new resources. As I already mentioned, tonight's webinar is really going to provide the opportunity for an overview of planning for the year ahead. As part of this process, we're going to spend a good bit of time exploring the Returning to School Transition Year 2020-2021 document, which was published by the Department of Education a number of weeks ago. We'll start with an overview of this, followed by a group discussion in our breakout rooms, and then we'll take feedback in the main room. Before we do so, we are conscious that there are probably a number of new coordinators joining us here tonight. To give you a good overview of what transition year entails and the key considerations from the point of view of a coordinator, we'll now listen to a short video which provides an overview of transition year. If you are watching this webinar as a recording after the event, you might like to exit the presentation at this stage and to click on the video itself, which is located next to the presentation. Thank you, John, for that considered input. We're now going to turn our attention to exploring the Returning to School Transition Year document, which was published by the Department of Education a number of weeks back. I'm going to hand you over to my colleague Glenda Groom, who will take you through the main points of this document.
The Department of Education and Skills has produced the Returning to School Transition Year 2020-21 guidance document to support schools when delivering their TY programmes this year. It encompasses 5 significant areas for consideration, including an overview of the Transition Year programme, which John has reviewed earlier, designing the TY programme for 2021, planning considerations for TY during the current global pandemic, and practical tips to assist this planning, and emphasis on the importance of protecting the well-being of staff and students. Students need to engage fully with learning following the school closure period. It is important to discuss with students the inclusion of areas of the curriculum and aspects of learning about which they are concerned following school closures in March. Students will be coming from a variety of COVID-19 experiences. Many will have experienced loss, loneliness, worry, and continue to struggle in this way. Others will have found the time at home very positive, enjoyed the time with family, and felt happy to be away from the strain of the classroom, dealing with other students, and being able to work at their own pace. Many will be concerned about being in the school environment with new regulations, some desiring to follow rules strictly as they have relatives with underlying conditions, or indeed may have conditions themselves. Others finding it difficult to comply. All students need to be facilitated in expressing their feelings and concerns about areas of learning they believe should be included in the programme. In order to do this, it may be useful to negotiate the plan for learning with students, taking account of their lived experiences and interests to support confidence and competency building. This in turn may develop key competencies within the student, such as leadership, organisational and communication skills, while also encouraging both students and teachers to engage in the process as reflective practitioners. TY induction programmes may need to be reimagined in light of this consideration. A key element of the TY experience is the opportunity to develop relationships and connections. As such, bonding activities should be encouraged, subject to the relevant public health advice. If at all possible, facilitation of bonding activities should be planned, particularly near the beginning of the school year, subject to the relevant public health restrictions. Bonding activities encourage students to share and assimilate their experiences collaboratively, allowing meaningful input to the programme, so the students will feel ownership and show commitment. By developing a sense of ownership over the programme, students develop their decision-making abilities while setting realistic success criteria. Wellbeing has been an integral part of TY programmes for many years. Many schools provide opportunities for specific courses on promoting individual aspects of well-being, such as mindfulness, yoga, exercise programmes, healthy nutrition advice, and practical guidance, in addition to the development of group well-being through community-based projects. In order to identify priority areas for knowledge and skills development, the TY coordinator needs to liaise with subject departments to plan effective supports for this learning. We will explore this further in Webinar 3. While providing additional time for core subjects to bridge any gap in learning due to school closures, it is important to maintain existing good practice in planning creative, innovative TY programs, not a 3-year Leaving Certificate program. In light of these considerations, it is particularly important to have the support of senior management and effective communication structures in place. Ensuring the continuation of TY planning good practice, which, as in the past, includes strong engagement with knowledge, development of personal, social and learning skills, strong emphasis on creativity and innovation, all achieved through a wide variety of teacher-led, student-led and inquiry-led learning activities. The TY coordinator should promote collaboration in planning where possible, perhaps using shared documents. Developing a digital learning skills program to build upon existing skills acquired and developed, particularly during the recent school closures, would be useful. This concept will be explored further in Webinar 2. Where work experience may not take place, the provision of alternative equivalent learning is recommended, and approaches to this will be explored in Webinar 3. Possession of effective digital skills have become an integral part of our ability to function effectively within society. Recent school closures serve to identify gaps in provision of training, personal skill sets, and access to broadband services and hardware. It is imperative that schools provide opportunities for students to build upon the skills they have and to further develop proficiency. Such learning allows for the development of relationships, in addition to the opportunity to collaborate and share resources. This will be examined further in Webinar 2. When considering the planning and delivery of co-curricular and extracurricular activities to support the main programme this year, many activities may be limited or not feasible at all due to the current restrictions. As TY coordinators, we need to prioritise resources to maximise learning opportunities. It is advisable to channel often limited resources towards activities that enhance well-being, teamwork and bonding opportunities. Your setting, IT infrastructure and access to facilities will determine much of what is useful to you. As many families have incurred a loss in income and many others facing uncertainty, it is prudent to source as many low-cost and no-cost activities as possible. While most TY coordinators seek these opportunities normally, the need to prioritise their use has dramatically increased this year. Using the talents of the staff, parents and local community to provide interesting learning opportunities in accordance with public health guidelines may result in even more valuable experiences for our students. This may include using local resources for modules or workshops on topics such as tourism, local history, ecology, community work and enterprise. When planning, it is important to prepare for school-based or online activities to replace co-curricular or extracurricular activities if necessary. While in-person visitors may be welcomed when in accordance with public health guidelines, it is advisable to plan virtual visiting speakers where possible. As TY coordinators, we by our very nature are adaptable to change, and many embody the skills desirable in any good leader. Being highly organised, excellent communicators, problem solvers, innovative, creative and resilient in our approach has never been more desirable. TY coordinators play a central role in planning, A strong sense of collaboration allows an effective response to the challenges faced by TY coordinators and their teams. It is very important to encourage a sense of teamwork among staff and students so they may work together in order to achieve the desired outcomes. One of the key qualities displayed by TY coordinators is resilience. A constantly evolving programme with so many variables contributes to the development of such resilience. However, it is important to include sufficient self-care, to have the reserves to be able to sometimes just pick yourself up and carry on. In light of the current climate, the ability to utilise this quality has never been more valuable. TY coordinators in many cases are faced with additional considerations of work experience and external experiences, the organisation and execution of which may be particularly challenging at this time. In some cases, the educational training boards and school board of managements have simply cancelled activities for the foreseeable future, whereas others are adopting a wait-and-see approach. Both approaches present challenges for TY coordinators when wishing to plan and deliver the best possible programmes for our students. Coordinators may model and encourage proactive, resilient, boosting behaviours while continuing to maintain and develop positive relationships and teamwork. As a TY coordinator, it is often useful to consider what approaches to this job are the most beneficial. The golden rules of coordination are based on the experiences and feedback of many experienced TY coordinators. One of the key elements, which now more than ever will help TY programmes to deliver to their fullest potential, is building and maintaining positive relationships. This needs to be underpinned by effective planning and organisation. In order to achieve these ideals, it is vitally important that the TY coordinator is willing to be flexible when facing both opportunities and challenges. To successfully maintain the energy and enthusiasm required for this role, it is essential that TY coordinators practice self-care and develop resilience while remembering to enjoy it.
Thank you, Glenda, for that sound advice. We are now going to take the opportunity to explore some of the key points raised via a breakout room discussion. If you are watching this webinar after the event has happened, you will find a summary of the key points raised in a supporting document on the accompanying TY webpage. Thank you for joining us for this webinar. If you have any questions pertaining to any of the issues raised during the event, please feel free to email us at ty@pdst.ie. And remember to follow us on Twitter and to check in on the TY webpage on pdst.ie. Thank you.